When we talk about the GOATs of pure athleticism in NBA history, three names often surface: Wilt, the Stilt Chamberlain, the King LeBron James, and the man they called half man, half amazing, Vince Carter. Vincanity's name alone brings to mind soaring dunks, impossible hang time, and iconic highlights that stretch across multiple decades. But beyond just the jams, there lies a player whose skill set, evolution, and longevity often goes overlooked historically because he wasn't able to capture an NBA championship. Today, we dive into the fine details of the phenom who put basketball on the map for an entire country. These are the skills of Vince Carter. Explained. Vince Carter began honing his craft in the collegiate ranks at the University of North Carolina. It's a detail that sometimes gets lost in the dazzling spectacle of his NBA years. But during his time in Chapel Hill, Carter wasn't even the undisputed star of the team. That distinction belonged to his teammate, Antawn Jamison, who led the ACC in points per game and rebounds per game, winning several Player of the Year awards. Jamison was the statistical leader, averaging 22.2 points and 10.5 rebounds per game, shooting nearly 58% from the field. But Carter was just as impactful, as his amazing athleticism would mesmerize Chapel Hill and steal opposing crowds on the road. After helping get North Carolina to back-to-back NCAA Final Fours, Vince Carter faced a pivotal choice: return for his senior year without Jamison, likely putting himself into National Player of the Year discussions, and maybe even a national title, or declare for the NBA draft and chase his lifelong dream. Faced with this career-defining choice, Carter wisely sought the advice of a man who had guided countless young talents before him, his legendary North Carolina head coach, Dean Smith. Both Smith and Bill Guthridge, who had taken over as head coach for Carter's junior year, reached out to their connections across the pros. The answer came back clear: Vince Carter was going to be a top 10 pick. With that reassurance, Carter declared for the 1998 NBA draft. But what happened next, no one could have predicted. On draft night, Antawn Jamison was picked fourth by the Toronto Raptors, with Carter being selected right after, at fifth overall, by the Golden State Warriors. But the Warriors wanted Jamison, and the Raptors wanted Carter. So, in an ironic twist, a deal was made. College teammates swapped for one another, just minutes after hearing their names called on draft night. This unexpected turn of events sent Carter north of the border, setting the stage for his electrifying arrival in the NBA. Vince Carter took the NBA by storm. His leaping ability, his confidence, his presence, it electrified the city of Toronto immediately. Raptors fans, starved for a superstar and a reason for excitement, were instantly captivated. His entertaining athletic style jumped off the page so much that it led many to believe they had found the man who could actually follow in the footsteps of Michael Jordan. The sentiment was so strong that young Carter was quickly bestowed with the moniker Air Canada, an obvious and fitting tribute to the legendary Air Jordan. Though the Raptors missed the playoffs in Carter's first season, Vincanity was the runaway Rookie of the Year. VC received an overwhelming 113 first-place votes, soundly defeating fellow rookies Jason Williams and Paul Pierce. When we begin to analyze the multifaceted skill set of Vince Carter, it's easy to only remember the posters and alley-oops, but VC was quietly ahead of his time as a three-point scorer. In Vince's second year, his scoring average jumped significantly, from 18 points per game in his rookie year to nearly 26 points per game in 2000. But perhaps even more impressive was his dramatic improvement in three-point shooting. Carter's three-point percentage soared from a well below average 28.8% in his rookie campaign to an elite 40.3% in his second year. This massive shift in his shooting showed a dedicated commitment to improving his game as a pro and added a crucial dimension that would not only help him in the moment, but well after his prime. By his third season in the league, Vince Carter had firmly established himself as one of the NBA's premier offensive forces. In that year, he became only the second player in NBA history to average at least 27 points per game, while also making 2 or more three-pointers per game on 40+% shooting from beyond the arc. His shot chart from that season tells the story, as he was really a threat from anywhere on the court. Carter should be acknowledged for the true three-level scorer that he was during his prime. This underrated versatility made him incredibly difficult for opposing defenses to game plan against. And it wasn't just offense. Vince Carter was a surprisingly gifted defender in his early years, especially for his size. In his rookie season, at just 6'6", Carter averaged 1.5 blocks per game, a record for any player his height or shorter. Over the next 2 seasons, he joined Michael Jordan as the only players that size to average at least 25 points, 1 block, and 1 steal per game in back-to-back seasons. This all-around impact and his ability to influence the game on both ends of the floor is something that often goes overlooked, thanks to the greatness of his highlight reel. Speaking of which, let's now discuss the dunks. Vince Carter is widely considered the greatest dunker of all time, and this distinction is earned for 2 primary reasons: the sheer quantity and the remarkable quality of his dunks, particularly during the first decade of his NBA career. Carter possessed a unique ability to jump in the air first and then react second. This allowed for a level of improvisation and creativity in his dunks that was rarely seen before him. He could adjust his body mid-flight, contort himself into seemingly impossible positions, and still finish with power and grace. This skill gave us some of the most graceful yet vicious poster dunks the NBA has ever witnessed. This ability to make decisions while seemingly suspended in time also made him the best lob finisher the game has ever witnessed. It didn't matter if the pass was a little too high, a little behind him, or even a bit off to the side. Vince had an uncanny knack for elevating, and then, while still in the air, figuring out exactly how to catch the ball and finish the play. In Toronto, these finishes were some of Vince's most spectacular, but it was when Carter joined the New Jersey Nets, alongside the legendary passer Jason Kidd, that his above-the-rim game was unlocked on another level. His hang time was like a gift to Kidd, who used his own Hall of Fame passing talents to make sure Vince had every opportunity to finish amazing alley-oops. It was also during his tenure in New Jersey that Vince Carter delivered what many consider to be the greatest poster dunk of his NBA career. The date was November 7th, 2005, and the opponent was the Miami Heat, the team that would go on to win the NBA championship that very season. In the first half, Carter and teammate Richard Jefferson combined for over 60% of the Nets scoring, including each of them throwing down a slam on shot-blocking legend Alonzo Mourning. Going into the locker room at halftime, Carter and Jefferson discussed the physicality of the game inside. Vince predicted that if they continued to attack the basket, Mourning, a proud and fierce interior defender, would likely try to stop them by any means necessary, perhaps even resorting to hard fouls to avoid further embarrassment. Carter then suggested a bold strategy. The only way to continue to successfully finish over Mourning was to accept and embrace the potential hard contact and still manage to complete the dunk on top of him. This was, of course, easier said than done, especially against a player of Mourning's caliber. However, in the third quarter, a play unfolded that perfectly mirrored Carter's halftime prediction. VC grabbed an offensive rebound around the three-point line, dribbled behind his back past Jason Williams, and was one-on-one with Mourning at the rim. Both men jumped simultaneously. Mourning made heavy contact, but Carter somehow floated in the air longer. And as Mourning began to descend, Carter was still rising. Vince would then react and unleash a thunderous tomahawk dunk right over one of the best shot blockers of all time. It was poetic. It was violent. It was a dunk so emphatic that Alonzo Mourning didn't speak to Carter for 7 long years. As Vince Carter entered his 30s, it was natural that he would experience a slight decline in his top-end speed and vertical leap. Father Time is undefeated, even for the most gifted athletes. However, Carter demonstrated remarkable adaptability, maintaining his effectiveness on the court by evolving his game and relying more on a fundamentally sound offensive approach. While the high-flying dunks would still occasionally materialize, Carter began to lean more on his craftiness and veteran savvy to make amazing layups, floaters, and tough shots beneath the rim. He always had a knack for using angles, absorbing contact, and finishing creatively, but as he aged, this was his way to continue to wow NBA crowds. One of the best showcases of this more fundamental style came on February 8th, 2010. By this point in his career, the 33-year-old Carter was playing for the Orlando Magic, hoping to contribute to a team built around the young superstar Dwight Howard, who had just led the Magic to the NBA Finals the previous year. Leading up to this particular game, Carter hadn't been playing his best basketball. In his previous 6 contests, he was averaging a modest 12 points per game on a disappointing 33% shooting from the field. However, the beauty of the NBA is that on any given night, a legend can rediscover their brilliance and have a special performance. And for Vince Carter, this random Monday night against the New Orleans Hornets was his night. Carter exploded for an incredible 48 points, shooting a lethal 70% from the field. He was hitting shots from all over the court, both inside and outside the three-point line, taking and making whatever shots he wanted. It was a masterclass in offensive basketball, a showcase of a player who had evolved his game as he aged out of his absolute physical prime. And that was perhaps Carter's greatest skill, evolution. He didn't just age, he adapted, from Skywalker to sharpshooter, from highlight machine to reliable veteran. He played for 8 teams over 22 seasons, and even as a role player, he made an impact. He was a mentor, a steady presence, and yes, he could still dunk. Carter's durability is something that doesn't get talked about enough. He averaged 70 games played per season over his 22-year career. He played in fewer than 60 games in a season only 3 times in those 22 years. And one of those seasons was his lockout-shortened rookie year, where he played in all 50 of the scheduled games. Vince Carter was the ultimate freak athlete. He could jump out of the gym, had awesome agility and speed, great hand-eye coordination, and a natural physical conditioning that allowed him to step on the floor and play with ease for 2 decades. The fact that he can still dunk at 48 years old is a testament to his extraordinary athleticism. His name remains one of the most beloved in basketball history, a name that evokes excitement and wonder. His influence is everywhere. We see it in the high-flying guards who dominate today's game, in the way we celebrate and revere awesome poster dunks and lob finishes, and in the very evolution of the modern scorer who is a threat from everywhere on the floor. Vince Carter didn't just inspire a generation, he shaped it.